if I'm not losing sleep over your business, then we're not in the right relationship.
Hi, everyone. Lisa and Dan here from Fireside Strategic. We're on a mission to help business leaders achieve great results through human-centered strategy. In the Fireside Chat series, we're showcasing how leaders unite strategic and human thinking in leadership, and today are transcending the challenges of COVID-19. It's Tech Week, and right now we're chatting with Yuri Iskhakov, founder and CEO of NANO, a full-service digital agency and AI venture studio. Yuri, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us today. Can you tell our audience a little bit about you and your story?
Hi, Lisa. Thank you, Dan and Lisa, for having me. It's a real honor. So our story is a long one. We began in 2007 as a web development shop. We've been slowly but surely building into a full-service digital agency where we help fashion brands, lifestyle brands, and luxury brands get online and market themselves to the world. So we are a tight-knit boutique. We're a team of about 10 to 12 people. We're now balancing out with all the things that are going on. But we like the hands-on approach to play kind of a technology partner as a plug-and-play agency.
Awesome. So before we clicked going live, you said that your motto is online marketing is not enough. Would you mind telling our audience a little bit more about that philosophy and why online marketing is not enough?
Absolutely. So we've been helping brands go digital for many years. E-commerce happens to be one of our fortes, and we've helped people build beautiful e-commerce experiences over the years. And for the past 10 years, there has been a huge shift into what digital transformation looks like, right? I want to touch, that tagline has a lot to do with digital transformation. And when 20 years ago, digital transformation took effect and people went from retail to online, it became a cataloging process. And then in the last 10 years, cataloging became boring because everyone got online. Everyone, continued to catalog, but very few brands have actually started to push a user experience, an interactive user experience. And so, when people cataloged finally, they realized that, okay, I have a website, I have my product. What do I do next? So then they decided that they needed to go out and market. They would spend money on marketing to drive traffic. And for a little bit of time, it worked. But now, once the entire cataloging approach kind of got busy and died out, and the market became a little bit more intrigued with technology and wants more, they want a better experience. The right brands started to expand into a more interactive digital experience rather than being a catalog company. And so, a lot of people employ marketing as a spray and pray type of approach. They just spray a bunch of money and pray something comes back. And so that's why we say it's not enough to just be in online marketing. Your company has to pay attention to the audience you're going after, the messaging that you're putting out, the user experience that the customer will have when they actually interact with your brand, whether it's online or offline, and then the follow-up, right? Which means how do they get their products delivered to them? How do they get customer service provided to them? All these things are a package, right? It's like a big puzzle, and all these pieces need to be addressed individually and paid attention to individually. And if you're just focusing on marketing, you will fail. If you're just focusing on the experience, you will fail. It's putting all these pieces together. Logistics has to know what marketing is doing. Marketing has to know what sales is doing. Sales needs to know what merchandising is doing. All of these things need to coincide and work in harmony. So that's why we believe that, online marketing is just simply is not enough to grow your business.
It makes sense. I'm curious to learn a little bit more about where you think these silos come from. If they're counterproductive, why do we tend to have them?
So we tend to be a little bit haste, and we want to rush right to the finish line. And so when businesses went digital, or for example, a lot of businesses are going through this right now. If you were in retail and you have not approached digital as much as you should have, or you haven't made it a primary focus, you now have no choice. With everything that's happening today, you're focused to make digital a priority, but you're behind schedule. You should have thought about it years ago, as if you have been following the trends of what's going on. And so now, how do you hurry up and create something, right? So there's a lot of automated tools out there. There's a lot of agencies that will help you get there. But it takes time. It's not, Rome wasn't built overnight, so you can't just have a digital presence done on the snap of your fingers, right? So I think it's because people are rushing, so they pick and choose their battles. And very often, I think there's a lack of a plan, which is a bigger issue. If those can take a step back and create a plan of action and know what their must-haves are, they can execute faster, smoother, at a lower risk.
Yes, I agree. There's this interesting balance between planning and improvisation in marketing, yes, and so in business building. And so on the one hand, people with no plan they're just going to do the wrong things. They're not going to be able to optimize. They're not going to be able to test as they go. On the other hand, sometimes you can overthink. You can be so focused on coming up with a plan that you're not taking enough action. And Correct. So there's this beautiful process, I find, in which you're open to letting things unfold, but you're always you always in the back pocket know that you have a plan, and you're going to want to be building on that plan so that you have systems that ensure people are over time learning the right actions to take and taking them.
I agree 100%.
Yuri, what's so interesting about your background and about NANO is that it seems like you're combining all these different elements in a full service studio. Can you tell us how, as one company with a fairly small team, you're able to do that? What does the team have to entail? What does your background have to entail to be able to do so much?
So as I'd like to call myself a generalist, master, jack of all trades, master of some. We we try to keep our kind of our teams on a project management level. So we train project managers, and we run all projects from a project management's perspective. And it's simply meaning that you need to balance the budgets, the outcomes, and the resources necessary to execute on a project. Most of our guys have, very broad experience, both in marketing, in user experience, in software development. And so, we do implement a model called shared resources, where we balance a calendar for certain projects. We don't take on a lot of projects either. We work with a handful of brands per year. We want to make sure that everybody gets, a lot of personal attention. We do play a role of a technology partner, so we care about what happens to every single one of our clients. The conversation we generally have is, if I'm not losing sleep over your business, then we're not in the right relationship. So it's taking that personal approach. We stay small for a reason. We have a great way of onboarding necessary resources as projects call on. We have a very wide network of partners. We work with different agencies. We work with different outsourced development shops. We try to keep all the high level things, all the think tank happens in-house, and majority of the execution happens in-house, but we build and onboard really talented people when projects call for it. So we can scale and manage production.
How have you found those talented people?
So I've been doing this for almost 20 years. My agency's been around for 14 years, but over 20 years, our entire business has been built on just networking, and part of the networking entailed building great relationships with parallel businesses. We're not big fans of outsourcing, but we are big fans of partnership. So we create partnerships, and I very much enjoy building partnerships within New York, within the US. It's very important that people that work on projects, particularly pertaining to e-commerce, understand the American culture. Um, Overseas culture has a hard time understanding how spoiled we are, and you have to cater to these needs, both from experience, both from quality of code, quality of the design. So we are aware of these facts. So building relationships with parallel marketing agencies, with parallel PR agencies, development agencies. We know who's capable of doing what. We vet everybody that we work with and partner with. And so when projects come on board, we happily invite people to participate.
I love that. It sounds like you're running such a generalist business, but that allows you to be so flexible and really custom to what your clients need as a result.
Correct. We're not industry agnostic. We've worked pretty much in every industry there is, and somebody recently asked me, how do we manage to jump from one industry to another? My simple answer is that we cater to humans, and if you cater to humans, you basically are catering to the same type of needs. So.
What's so interesting about that, Yuri, is so much consulting advice on the internet. I would say consulting and marketing 101 advice on the internet these days is don't be a generalist, be a specialist.
Right.
Create your customer avatar, focus on one industry, solve one particular problem, right? But it sounds like that's not the wisdom that you've paid attention to. That's not the strategy you used.
So it is a strategy that we do recommend to customers when they're focusing on delivering a specific product or service, right? Mm-hmm. We do focus on segmentation and figuring out the individual audience, and trying to stay within a lane that you can really dominate in. But I'm a big fan of having a generalist on top, as an outside input. Give you clarity, because very often people that focus within one area get a little too emotionally attached, and so they miss gaps, they miss opportunities. And when you bring an outside resource, this is where we actually come into play very well, is that we're bringing you an outside perspective with zero emotional attachment to your business. We just want to find opportunities and help you thrive. And so you're an expert in what you do, but then you have a generalist that helps you find opportunities where you could definitely, put gasoline into your engine and speed up the process of success.
Such a smart way to organize a team, to have that broader thinker, the person that understands the human challenges, that can apply learnings from different domains, and then the people that really know one thing well. And it seems like that's a very coherent team structure.
Yes. And I believe, we've married, so you've mentioned that we have a venture studio as well. So that came literally from marrying the mentality of a corporate structure and a startup lifestyle. So, we wanted to become a venture studio to be able to help, because we've spent so many years helping enterprise level customers and established businesses, to be able to bring that organized structure to the startup world that has opportunity for higher risk, but doesn't have the experience and organization of a corporate business. And so that's how kind of our venture studio segment was born about 2 years ago.
Something that I'd love for us to dive into for a sec, is the man behind this beautifully generalist business. Would you mind telling our audience a little bit more about your own journey across the different industries you've worked in and your own life experiences, which inspired this type of company?
Thank you. So my journey, and I was an entrepreneur since I was a kid. I've been trying to sell something to someone since I was 5 years old. My professional background is in design and film production. I have a degree in 3D animation and film. I've been a graphic designer most of my life. I have an art degree, but I've also been very much inspired by entrepreneurship and by innovation. And coming from former Soviet Union, where that was just not a norm, which I'm sure you know. When we came to America, the consensus was go to school, go get a college degree, work your way up the corporate ladder, and none of that resonated. Even though I did go to college, I got the diploma to make my parents happy. But everything else was a self-taught entrepreneurial time, 16, 17-hour grind days of just learning, trying, and building my way up. I started out as a freelancer. I worked for many different companies. By the way, I wasn't afraid to work. My kids make fun of me that I had so many jobs since I was 11 years old. But all I wanted to do was everywhere I worked, I wanted to dominate. I wanted to be the best wherever I am. So it didn't really matter what we're doing as long as we did it the right way. But I still wanted to run my own business. I still wanted to have the freedom of choice, to make my own decisions. Some people say I might have a problem with authority. I just like to make decisions a little bit different. And so I started freelancing, build up, some clientele, learned along the way really fast that I cannot do everything myself. I try to design, develop, sell, deliver, do everything by myself without, having any understanding that, there's no balance. Big shift. I hired people. I started hiring freelancers, and then eventually built a full-time team. We started in Queens, New York, in a humble Forest Hills little office, and then graduated to a Manhattan office with a large team, and so here we are today. We have on staff project managers, UX designers, software developers, and AI engineers. We love working in one setting, which has been a little bit difficult for us to migrate to be a remote team, but I think we're getting used to it. So we'll see what happens, for the rest of the year.
Love the story and resonate with so much of that. And one really neat theme, I think, is that even though there was that time where you were trying to do everything and you realized probably not a good idea for me to do everything, probably a good idea for me to find subject matter experts, in attempting to do everything and failing at doing everything, my experience has been that you get that basic level of competence in each task, and then you're so much better at outsourcing it. So that classic story of generalist failure and trying to do too much actually gives you the ability. I think it makes you much better at hiring the right team down the line.
100%. And as a matter of fact, 7 years ago, I got fired by my team as a designer. So it was hard to let go. I love designing. I love the user experience. But my team said, you need to run this team and we're growing and you need to pass the baton. And so I kind of stopped designing. I do art direct, a lot of projects. But yeah, as a generalist, it helps a lot because you can understand limitations from the tech side, from the client side, from the design side, and you get to help people push and pull in the right directions.
Mm-hmm. What a beautiful evolution from designer leader to actual leader. So changing gears a little bit, you mentioned that with COVID-19, a lot of things have changed, and your team in particular had to evolve to a remote working model. Would you mind telling us a little more broadly, how has this crisis impacted both the way that you work internally as well as externally, how you work with your clients?
So, like I said, in all the years that we've been operating, my biggest belief was that all teams need to live under the same roof. Even though there's plenty of companies that employ remote employees and it seems to work well for them, the think tank concept of having everybody under one roof that can contribute to ideas, that can contribute to the culture, it's very important to me, to my teammates, and it was a little bit difficult for us to separate. Yes, we do morning stand-ups in Google Meet, the whole We even started recording the conversations because we went back to being able to joke around and fun things come out of it. But it's gotten a little bit more difficult to manage projects simply because, when I used to be able to just come over to your desk and point the finger and tell you, let's do it this way and let's experiment, let's try something else and have people's input, that immediacy kind of went away. Right now you have to readjust the way you operate. From a client perspective, unfortunately, a lot of our clients were non-essential, so they had to close their doors, and so we had to figure out a way how else we can help them. Some we could have helped, some we couldn't. There's just absolutely nothing we could do. But surprisingly, we've actually been offering private workshops, discovery workshops, where we would spend like 2 to 3 hours with a client and truly breaking down opportunities, right? Everything that they haven't been able to think through or weren't able to commit to before, now they have the opportunity to do so. And we've actually come up with a couple of startup ideas that the customers are going to be incorporating because they just love the ideas. And I think discovery workshops are just incredible. You put together a bunch of thinkers from different perspectives, designers, developers. We tell the client to bring on board their resources, 5-6 people, and we just go at it. Digital workshops. We go through the whole process of idea generation and then narrowing things down for the opportunities. So that's been helpful, and we've actually starting to record some of the educational stuff on like what type of workshops to do, how to run a workshop, and we're going to be publishing it on our YouTube channel for people to just access it and learn from.
It's beautiful. One of the silver linings in this tricky moment is that instead of putting out fires constantly, instead of being busy just doing things, right, so many of us have an opportunity because we have more time to think. To really be sure that we're going to allocate time to thinking, and thinking in that long-term kind of way, thinking about new creative ideas never seems to be the highest priority. And so it's so easy to kick that can down the road. But what you've done is not only said, we're going to take time to think, we're going to make sure that we take time to think. We're actually going to systematize a process by which you can think, and it'll be really, really valuable for you.
Exactly. And so through discovery, you could figure out if you have opportunities in your business, if you have opportunities, if your business even is established business, you don't need to be shut down to go through discovery. You could figure out how to deliver it better, deliver a better experience, right? To find opportunities. You can rethink your marketing approach, right? Marketing got also very generalized. People just spray and pray. They just keep pushing buttons. But marketing needs to be strategic. So if you have downtime, this is a perfect time to sit down with your team, with your marketing agency or whoever's running your marketing, and bring external references, bring external people that have nothing to do with your business, just to listen in, to give you feedback, right? That raw feedback that you're not going to get from people that are in the trenches. And find opportunities of how to do things better, leaner. And I tell people, doesn't matter how well established you are, put on your startup hat. Imagine you're starting a business from scratch. If you had to do it today, this is the opportunity. You have a very tiny budget, you have limited amount of resources, and because there's a lack of distribution, let's pretend no one knows you. That's the mindset. If no one knows you, how do you get them to get to know you? How do you get attention? What value do you bring? And so if companies start rethinking to be value-based, no matter who you are, no matter what type of company you are, even luxury companies need to think through what value can they deliver as a value-based company. That's how you drive through the noise. That's how you drive through people's fears. Right? Because there's a lot of fear out there. People are scared. People are afraid to go outside. Even if they start opening up the doors, people have been mentally conditioned for the past 2 months to be afraid and cautious, which is a problem, because breaking that habit will take another several months. Okay? And breaking fear takes a lot more work than building fear. So part of that, you need to be aware. What are you dealing with? The market is a little bit scared, but the market is also kind of fed up. So there's a balance. Market is fed up of sitting at home, not being able to have the freedom to do what they want to do, not being able to purchase, not being able to experience, not to be able to interact or communicate. Find different ways to communicate, find different ways to interact, find different ways to be in their life. If your business cannot serve in any possible way, then teach, educate, provide some sort of insight, provide updates and feedback. But if you're out of sight, you're out of mind. Your brand will get forgotten. So social media is a fantastic way to get exposure. It's pretty much free, right? I told a bunch of companies, if you can't do anything right now, after this panic is over, after everybody goes back to work, what will you be remembered for during COVID? And so if you can't be remembered for anything useful or valuable, you will be forgotten. Because you couldn't serve me then in any possible way. I'm going to concentrate on somebody who can serve me today, because now everything is nice and calm. So that's a big change. And if I may just put in 2 more cents, I wrote a small article about this. This is actually a preview of what future of work looks like. And for the past 2 years, we've been building some products that are based on artificial intelligence and machine learning and deep learning. And I started forecasting that with robotics, AI, and automation, there will be a humongous shift in business in a positive way. However, it's going to impact people in general. It's going to impact people's way of life. Meaning, if I could automate a bunch of processes, and you don't have to work 8 hours a day anymore, you're going to wind up working 4 hours a day. You don't have to travel and commute for an hour and a half into the city when you can work remotely from home, from a comfort of your own home. So a lot of work is going to be optimized and become a little bit easier. And my question at that time was, what do you do with your free time? Now, we are conditioned currently for the past 100 years to utilize our free time to indulge, because we're so used to working. You work 8 to 10 hour day, you come home, you're tired. You want to eat, you want to have a drink, you want to binge watch some Netflix show, and maybe hang out with your kids a little bit. Now imagine that working day went from 10 hours to 4. You're all of a sudden, you don't have to commute for 2 hours a day. Now you just saved another 2 hours. All of that free time, we are not conditioned to utilize it properly. We are not trained to eat healthier, to exercise, to meditate, to read, to self-educate. These are the things that we'll have an opportunity to do. And I think the only positive part of this pandemic shutdown was to give people an opportunity to experience this free time. And how people have treated this time literally will basically show you your future. If you've done nothing, then your future will kind of be, constantly dependent on the market and the economy. But if you were able to evolve and elevate yourself, your business, your process, your mindset, then the future is a lot brighter, because with automation and robotics and artificial intelligence, a lot of things will be taken care of for you, and you will have a lot more free time. So that's my 2 shekels. I just wanted to throw it out there.
We enjoyed your 2 shekel soapbox. It's a lot of fun. Makes a lot of sense. Definitely an interesting insight and perspective, and actually a great segue to one of the questions we love to ask all of our guests, which is, we talk about the serious aspects of business and leadership for most of our time together. but we're also curious about how people are having fun in this challenging moment. And so for you, Yuri, you talk about your business life. What's fun for you when you're not working?
Unfortunately, I am a workaholic, so I do work a lot. But my free time is basically dedicated to spending time with my kids. I have 2 kids. I need to make sure that they get enough attention, and obviously, kids are going crazy. They don't have enough room to run around. I do try to work out a couple of times a week. I do try to meditate a little bit. Because you need to consistently, improve yourself. I can't say I'm doing enough. I am working on that part too, that I need to do more of both exercise and meditation. But again, it's that workaholic mentality. If I can roll out of my bed and see my PC and get back to work, like that, the commute to work before allowed me to read books and catch up on the news. Today, you just back to work. So got to break that habit as well. We did start, little by little, kind of seeing some people, right? Very close family members. Obviously, big Jewish family. We do a lot of dinners. So, we're trying to take the virtual FaceTime Shabbat dinners into in-person dinners, little by little. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm a little bit boring when it comes to fun, but as much time as I can spend with my family and my kids.
Well, it sounds like you already laid out what you're supposed to do, and now it's just about taking your own advice. You're almost there.
Agreed.
Well, look, Yuri, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us. I think our audience learned a lot around how to use this time to do something better for their business and for themselves. For me, from a personal standpoint, as also a Soviet immigrant who had to defy a family tradition of just doing the right thing one step at a time, I definitely connected with that part of your story. But thank you so much for everything. And your soapbox was really inspirational. I'm going to go take a walk in the park and meditate and exercise and all of that all at once right when we're done.
Awesome. Lisa, thank you. Dan, thank you so much, guys. Really appreciate you taking the time with me. It was a lot of fun. Hope we do this again soon.
It was our pleasure.
All right, guys. Stay safe.